What's up, people? This is your host, Sorrell Crenshaw, and welcome to the first episode of the Safe Space Podcast. Man, whew, long time coming. We've been talking and going back and forth and trying to get logistics. And something just said, just do it, right? Just put it out. There's no time better than the present. And of course, my master engineer, my brother, also said, dude, stop waiting. Stop waiting. So here we are. And I'll do an introductory about myself, just so you need to know who I am. So again, Sorrell Crenshaw, go by Q or Big Dog. We could talk about that at another time. I'm from a decently sized small town, Roanoke, Virginia. Played sports throughout high school, middle school. Growing up, I was big into baseball, man. I really enjoyed baseball, the game, because it's a team game, but like your position matters so much to the overall body of it. It just really resonated with me. And anybody you ask that I played sports with will always say, man, you were good in basketball, and you played soccer, and you played a little tennis, but man, you were really good at baseball. And mind you, my size, I was probably the biggest kid in every classroom. I just didn't want to play football. I didn't, and it wasn't the contact, it wasn't the workouts or the sweating or the hitting. It wasn't any of that. The pads, none of that stuff really mattered. It's just the game it didn't do it for me, right? And everybody in the area is like, oh, you'd be great, you could play, you make it to the league, you take care of your family. I'm like, I don't want to do that, right? I, believe it or not, I had a passion for cooking. I wanted to be a chef. And my mother said, I'd never forget this. She said, you can't make any money being a chef. You need to go in and be an accountant. And I'm thinking about it. And as I look back, I'm like, my mother doesn't have an accountant, or my father. Like, what led them to say be an accountant and make money, right? So again, I went to school for accounting and finance. I graduated from East Tennessee State with a degree, double major in accounting and finance. Then I did not work at a bank right after that, or into accounting right after that. Went back and got my master's. Now I do work at a bank. I do work for a large corporation. I work for the corporate office, and I work in finance. So that is a little bit of my backstory. That's who I am. And now I have my beautiful wife, Ashley, my two beautiful children, Sorrell and Christian. And man, life is good. God has blessed us. He keeps blessing us. He continues to make ways. Even when I don't see it coming, he puts things around me and in me that's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And so now a little backstory about the podcast. Let's go pandemic, right? Pandemic happens. The world changes. Big shift. We all see where people are dealing with things that they now have to face because their outlets are now removed. They have no choice but to deal with the insecurities, to deal with that that lost feeling, to deal with those emotions that have been unchecked, unresolved. So now people are in a space where it's like mental health awareness. That's the huge push at this moment and ever since COVID. It's been talked about beforehand, but it was like, we can mask it with, people have been masking it with, drugs or, alcohol. Coming to find out, North Carolina is one of the leaders in alcoholism since COVID. So it shows you that we have been self-soothing for so long without self-correction, without seeking help. And I had to be one to say, you know what, I can't do this by myself. I need help. And seeking a therapist has been the best thing that ever happened to me. Realizing that we can relate something back to a incident in our childhood or trauma or how we react to things is leading up to, we want to avoid conflict, or, we didn't have a voice as a child, or whatever your situation was. We see that now. And I believe that COVID did a couple things. It forced you to work on those things, or it forced those things to be removed from your life. So I am very proud to say I sought out therapy. I did the work. I put the time in. And I feel better. Like, I feel like the weight that was sitting on my shoulders is leveled out. Because a lot of times it feels one-sided. Like, oh man, I got all this on the right side. I got all this on the left side. Then all this on my back. I feel more leveled because I learned how to better communicate, how to better say what I'm feeling, and also just to speak and say when I'm feeling a certain way, instead of thinking, well, I don't want to be a nuisance, or I don't want to be an inconvenience, rather than I'm hurting myself every time because I'm blocking something that's so simple, but I'm blocking getting past a situation or getting through something, excuse me, because I'm so wrapped in the place where complacency and comfortability. Instead of saying, okay, having the tough conversation is really a myth. It's not this scenario or situation isn't, everything's not a tough conversation. There are some, let me not say that. There are some tough conversations. But sometimes general conversations are tougher than others, but it's just a general conversation. It's natural. And I learned that firsthand with my wife. Her and her family have open dialogue every day, all day. There is no in between. It's always open dialogue. They say how they feel. They talk through it. It's fine. My family was always, you don't speak about it. You sweep it under the rug. You don't talk about it. And that is unhealthy. Anybody to tell you differently is lying to you and doesn't want you to succeed. That is unhealthy. Not talking about it makes it worse, number one. And it also makes it where you don't feel comfortable having conversations with other people. Yeah, masking it, laughing it off and say, oh, I just swept it under the rug, or you know what, I just let it fall off of me. It wasn't that big of a deal. But if it bothers you in any certain way, it was a big deal to you, and that's okay. Your feelings are valid, and I think we've learned through this whole pandemic that our feelings are valid. Seeing all these suicide rates and seeing all these young people take their life. I had multiple family members take their life throughout COVID, young, 2021. I think one was 19, right? Commit suicide. They didn't know how to express their feelings, say what was on their hearts. Sorry, that's just a lot. Sorry. Wow, right? To know someone took their life because they didn't feel like a purpose was here. It's a tough situation, but I feel good to talk about it, because talking about it makes, doesn't make it worse or make it hurt any less. But talking about it makes me address it. Excuse me. Makes me face it head on. And I truly believe that is the work from my therapist. Work from just realizing, man, that, you know, we get one chance at this life. And I do believe God has a purpose for each and every one of us. I am a big advocate of that. And speaking of purpose, we'll talk about why this safe space came about. I felt like there was not a safe space for men, majority men, but men to really talk about their feelings. I have friend groups that I recently reach out and say, hey, man, how you feeling on a scale of 1 to 10? Just want to check in with you, pray for you, talk to you if you need it. And I hear more and more, man, about a 5 or a 7. That's like the average range I've heard from my friend groups, multiple friend groups. And they're okay with being in that state of like, I'm not doing okay, but I can't stop. I got to keep going. I got a wife. I got kids. I'm taking care of my parents, or I'm taking care of a family member. I don't have the option to quit. So I'm just going to get through it. And that's not okay. I need us to be at 8s and 9s and saying, you know what, life is great. I had a hiccup the other week, but you know what? I turned it around. I was able to, pray about it. I was able to put it in this. I was able to, deal with it. And, so I think this is really, really needed. And shout out to my guys that I play, I am a gamer, right? So I play Call of Duty, 2K with some buddies. We started playing over the pandemic, right? My cousin went to Virginia State. I had a group of guys. They were playing, every once in a while. I just had my son. And COVID hit, and I was like, man, I have to find something to do, an outlet that I can do. I don't have to leave the house. So I had an Xbox just sitting there. Turned that thing on, logged in, played a couple days, and connected with these guys. And it's about 7 or 8 of us, and we've just been playing since then. We've connected since then. We've had a friendship and a brotherhood since then, over playing a video game. But in that space, I realized, just like, sports, this is a outlet for us to talk about how we feel. People talk about what's going on in our lives. We've prayed over each other. We've had moments where it's got intense, and it's still been a safe space. I still feel comfortable speaking my truth, saying what's on my heart, which led to starting a podcast. Portions of it. Now I'll go to the deeper side. I'll go to the deeper side of why I believe this podcast had to be created. Since I was a young child, there's been a calling of my life to be a pastor. Now, I will never, anybody who you ask, I would always say, that's never going to be me. I'm a church musician. I'm going to play all over the world. I'm going to play for this, and this person. That didn't happen, right? My focus was school. And in that, I realized that I've been running from something that continuously keeps being called up. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to be a pastor or whatever, but just hear me out. 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, a prophetess came to our church, and she came and said, hey, I need to speak to you after service. I'm thinking, hey, something wasn't right. I'm on the praise team, I'm singing. She wants to talk through, maybe some sound checks didn't go through well, or we sounded a mess. She said, hey, does anybody ever tell you have a pastor's heart? I said, well, you'd be the maybe 60th person that might have told me that. I mean, I've literally heard this all my life at every function growing up as a child, high school, even collegiately, throughout college. I've heard that at different churches we played for and we minister to. And I said, yeah, I've heard it. And I just kind of, waited to see what was going to come of it. And she stopped me. She said, don't lie on God. Did you wait or were you running from it? Immediately, I dropped to my knees. It hit me like a wave. She said, you've been running from it because you don't want the responsibility. You don't want what comes with being a pastor. But the pastor's heart is so heavy on you. whenever somebody is dealing with something or working through something, your heart feels it and you weep for them and your heart goes out for them. I was like, yeah, I thought it was just, me having a good heart and being a good person. She's like, no, that's a pastor's heart. You care and pray about people even when they don't know about it. I was like, yeah. So she said, you may not have a traditional church. You may not have a traditional podium, a traditional congregation, but you're going to have a following and a group of people that are going to listen to you, that want to hear from you and want to feel something from God through you. And you're going to reach people that that most pastors can't. And I was like, okay, I'm no longer running. So whatever happens from there, I'm going to push forward. A month after that, I started thinking about things and, start reading my Bible more and trying to think through, like, what does that look like? And, God, I'm not trying to push you, but now I'm saying, I'm no longer running. And when you're ready, I'm ready. So talking through something, me and my brother I think we were actually on our way to our college. I think we were on our way homecoming. And it hit me like a wave. I said, bro, I think I need to start a podcast. Like, I think that's my niche, my ministry, where I can reach people, talk to people. And from there, it just been one of those like whirlwinds. My brother was like, man, this has been great. I've been waiting on you to do something like this. Like, this is your avenue. This is going to be amazing. So again, I'm still nervous. I'm still scared. This is my first time really doing something like this. And I'm like, okay, God, whatever it is, I'm with it. So I've been procrastinating. I've ordered the stuff to do the recordings. I've, done some research. I've listened to different podcasts. Shout out to big bro, Tim Ross. Listening to him has been a godsend because I can relate so much to what he's saying. And I appreciate his clarity and honesty and purity in what he's doing. So thank you. Me and him have never met. we may never meet. But I just want to say thank you because listening to you has really helped me in this journey. So come full circle. 2 weeks ago. No, Pentecost Sunday was last week. Last Sunday, I get dropped by another prophet that comes in our church and says, whatever. I heard it. It was so profound. When he was talking to me, I felt like me and him were the only people in the room. I no longer heard Juanita Bottom preaching. I no longer heard the congregation in an uproar. I no longer heard my wife beside me praising God. I could only hear the voice of this man and him saying to me, clear as day, I am birthing the pastor and the prophet in you. There's no longer any more time to run from what's happening in your life. You will provide for your family. You will make ways for other people. You will create opportunities for other people. You will pastor. You will prophet. You will be God's vessel. Whew. Like, heard it clear as day. Then he drops me, right? I'm on the ground. I don't even know how long. Like, it just hit me so profoundly. This is the first time I think I've ever fell. When I came to, I got up. I'm talking to my wife for a second. I'm trying to. I can't even get any words out. She's asking me, okay? I'm like, yeah. I'm just like, yeah. I just got dropped in church, so I think I'm still a little woozy, but not woozy. That's probably not the best way to put it, but I'm still just kind of like gathering myself. And I tell her, what I just said, and she's like, okay, stop running. Let's get to it. And just last night, my brother said, dude, just hit record. Just hit record. Just see what happens. So this is birthing the Safe Space podcast. I say all that to say that. I want this podcast focus to be man, just to talk about feelings, to talk about being a man and this day and age, especially being a black man in this day and age, raising family, being a husband, being a son, being a child of God. I'm not the super churchy person, so it's not going to be a lot of hymns and scriptures. But I will put some biblical content behind it. I will do more, research to be better in that aspect. But I do just want to, at this point, focus on the mental health piece. I think we have to work on us first. My pastor says it all the time, and shout out to Pastor Shamari and co-pastor Jackie. We love you guys so much. He says it all the time. He's a firm believer in theology and therapy. You need the Bible and you need a therapist. You need somebody to really break down what your day-to-day is looking like. Where's your mindset, right? What that looks like. We can't handle alone everything the world throws at us. To be naive to think that the world we live in is perfect and is perfectly made and built for us, and it's always on our side, no matter your ethnicity, your sexual orientation, gender, etc. There's always going to be an opposition or someone against you in some capacity. There probably is going to be someone who feels that, they can do it on their own. They don't need help. And that's okay to feel like that and to work as hard as you can to do it on your own. I'm here to tell you I did that. I don't want you to make the same mistake. I did that. All that did was put a Band-Aid on it. It taught me how I was able to deal with it for a week. After a year of therapy, I'm able to deal with it daily, weekly, monthly. I'm able to work through those things and have those conversations and be able to communicate more effectively and efficiently, right? Because efficiency is key. Effectiveness is key. If I'm just talking to talk, that doesn't work. I need to be thoughtful of how I speak to my children and my wife. I need to be intentional in how I communicate my feelings to them. And yes, I have 2 young children, both under 3. I communicate to them how they're making me feel. Son, you're frustrating me because you can't seem to listen. If I'm asking you to clean and you continue to play, I am now frustrated because you are not choosing to listen. And he understands that. He can process that. We can work through that, right? So, but yeah, I can't wait to grow this stage, to grow this platform. So with that, I will say in growing this, I need to be authentic as I can be. The only way that this works is me to be my true, authentic self. And with that, there's going to be some ups and downs, but I'm here for it. I'm open to that. I am vulnerable enough to be my true, authentic self. I have no problem with that. I did want to touch one small topic before I go from this intro. I would like to say that if you feel like you have no purpose, if you feel as if tough. If you feel like you have no place here on this earth, I want you to reach out, send us an email, send us a message through social media. I want to pray for you. I would love to have a conversation because it means more to me than giving somebody 20, 30 minutes to talk through what's going on in their heart or in their mind, to hear someone else has took their life. Someone else has decided that the world is better off without them. I usually do a 30-day cleanse from social media because the death tolls, the suicide rate, it bothers me so much because it bothers me a lot because I sit here and think like, man, that could be my family member, which it has been, but that could be my son, my daughter, my wife, my father, my mother, my brothers, my niece, my sister-in-law, a cousin, right? My aunt, my uncle, my grandmothers. And I would feel so hurt. But let me make sure I say this correctly. I would be hurt. I would not feel responsible, but I would feel so hurt because I could have done something. I could have been a voice. I could have been that for them. I could have helped them find that. I would have done everything I could in my power to help them. If we can't find your purpose, we'll figure it out. I used to have this as my signature on my emails. If there's not a knock on the door, I have to remember how I used to say that. But if there's not an open door, don't worry, we'll build one. Because you know what? There's not always the right avenue. There's not always an avenue that's even created for you. There might not even be what God's called for your life might not even be there yet. He's waiting on you to create it. If you talk about what you need in life and what's available and what's next, and it's not available and it's not there, that's God saying, dude, do it. Do it. I've called you to do it. The reason why it's not created yet is because I'm waiting on you. The reason that, these platforms are being created is because God's been waiting on it. There needs to be more outlets where people are talking these positive conversations. And shout out to Pivot. Man, I watch the Pivot a lot. And these guys are just talking their truth. They realize, you know what, there's not a conversation there's not conversations had like this, and I can't do it in the platform I'm already on, then I'll just go do it. Purpose is sometimes seeing that, you know what, I can't do the day-to-day of what I'm currently doing, but I need to sit down and really sit with myself and say, what does God have for me? What's my biggest strength? That's what I challenge everybody. I challenge everybody to write down this. What is your biggest strength? What is your biggest weakness? And what is your biggest goal? Write those 3 things down. See what your biggest strength is, your biggest weakness, and your biggest goal. And just look at that every day. If you have a strength and it's your biggest strength, Play to that and what your purpose is. Then go to your biggest weakness and work through that. Figure out a way to make that maybe not a strength, but not the biggest weakness. Become better at that each day. I already challenged myself. I'm going to learn Spanish. I'm going to learn how to speak Spanish because I am in a space where I have different cultures around me regularly, and I would love to at least understand the language. I don't have to have a full-blown conversation with anybody, but I want to more so be able to say, I understand you. Out of respect, I understand you. I hear you. For you. But guys, I want to say thank you so much. Please like, share, and follow. We want to grow this channel to be the best thing for you. I don't want to be the best thing in the podcast industry. I don't want to be the best thing as far as social media or YouTube. I just want to be the best for you. I want what I have experienced to come out. I want what I have endured and have been blessed from to bless somebody else. I want to be a blessing. And that's always what I wanted to do, is give back, be a provider, not just for my current family, but my entire family. Because once you lock in and once you become a part of the safe space, man, you're family. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being a part. Again, subscribe, like, and share. Please, we would love to get feedback as well. And if you have questions, you want some questions answered on the podcast, please submit your questions. We'll have an area where you can submit questions. We'll be able to talk through them on the podcast and see what that looks like. Again, I'm Sorrell Crenshaw, a.k.a. Q. We out, man. Episode 1 down. The safe space. Get into it.